Hello again. I just wanted to talk a little bit about how I helped someone lead from a place of vulnerability. I am blessed that I am able to coach some executives and managers from lots of different companies around the world. And one of the things that I've noticed is that I have had a lot of managers and people who are striving to be at the executive level struggle with how they want to show up. They want to show up as being strong leaders. They want to show up as being uh, knowledge experts. They want to show up and command respect. But they struggle with it because their underlying thought is that they do not have those things. And because their thinking is that they do not have those things, sometimes they show up over the top, abrasive, rude, overly commanding. And so the feedback that they're getting from their managers is that they are not ready to be promoted because they are not managing people well. So here's some things that I have helped them to do to improve their ability to show up as leaders and lead with some more vulnerability. So the first thing in all leadership is self leadership. And leading yourself means that you have to give yourself some grace, realizing that this is difficult, this is hard, what you're trying to do, and that you don't have to be perfect at all times. You don't have to be flawless in order to be an effective leader and in order for people to follow you. And realizing that how you want to show up is how you can show up, but you have to be intentional about it. A lot of times, because of that insecurity and that lack of belief in themselves, is why they're showing up very abrasive and trying to come out strong. And also because they may not have had that many examples of leaders who did show up with vulnerability. But invariably, when I ask them, who are the leaders that you admire most? The leaders that they admire most are the ones who showed up with vulnerability. But for some reason, they're not giving themselves permission to do that. So, self leadership is realizing that you need to look inward first and figure out what you need to be able to show up the way that you want to show up. And a lot of times that means you need to give yourself some grace and you need to give yourself some love. Love on that little girl who, grew up being told that she couldn't do it and finally got there. And now that she's there and she can do it, she's looking at all of these other people around her and seeing how they're doing it and wondering how she can do it that way when she knows that that's not in alignment with who she is. It's okay to be who you are. It's okay to be your authentic self who may not have come from the same backgrounds as these other people have come from. It's okay to walk in your story. So that's the first thing is self-leadership, leading yourself effectively. And then the second thing that I had to help these young managers and young executives with, and they weren't all women, some of them were men as well, is a lot of them want to show up as, okay, I want to be the smartest person in the room. I get it. That makes sense. But being the smartest person in the room doesn't mean that you make other people feel like they're the dumbest person in the room. You can be the smartest person in the room without making other people feel like they're the dumbest person in the room. Make sure that you are aware of how you are treating other people. So, there are ways to show that you are smart, that you're knowledgeable, that you're an expert without belittling other people or taking away other people's value or self expression. So, learning those communication techniques where you acknowledge other people first before you speak or give feedback is another way to lead with vulnerability. It's okay to give someone else a compliment. It doesn't take away from your knowledge or your expertise. It's okay to praise someone else. It doesn't make you look unworthy because you're giving them praise. You attract what you put out. So the more you put out praise and respect, the more respect and praise you will attract. So that's the second thing that I like to help them with. And then the third thing that I focus on. So now that they've learned how to lead themselves and give themselves the love and grace that they want, the second thing is realizing that just because they're the smartest person in the room, they don't need to make anybody else feel like they're the dumbest person in the room. And the third thing is just to believe it. Believe that you are the leader that is needed in this situation. Let your passion for the mission inspire others, leading from a place of inspiration. You're all there for one mission and for one goal. You're all one team. So seeing yourself as a part of this team, but you're the one who's motivating and inspiring. What can you do? What can you say that motivates someone to take positive action instead of telling them what to do or demanding or giving them ultimatums? How can you motivate and inspire to positive action so they're working with you? How can you get them on board? How can you get that buy in so everybody wants to do what it is that you're leading them to do so that they're just as invested as you are? So, those are some of the key things that I help people with when I'm helping them to lead from a place of vulnerability. And maybe that's helpful to you or helpful to somebody that you are mentoring or training or coaching. But I just wanted to share those few things.